Auditory perception. Articulation and phonological disorders. Articulation and phonological disorders in students can coexist. However, they may also present individually. Phonemes. Phonemes are sounds, specifically language sounds. Phonemic awareness plays an important role in these disorders. Phonemic sounds work together to form words and subsequently spoken language. Articulation disorders. Individuals with articulation disorders present deficits such as forming speech sounds correctly. Speech auditory perception plays into articulation disorders by way of language production and perception. Basically, production is the sound we make, and perception is how that sound is heard or perceived in order to reproduce or articulate a specific phonemic sound. Contributing factors. For an articulation disorder to be addressed with effective strategies and interventions, it is imperative to determine if the deficit is a result of a production or perception weakness. An example of a contributing production factor to an articulation disorder might be motor development weaknesses or a developmental anatomical characteristic that may impede one's ability to physically form certain sounds. If perception is the contributing factor, a hearing impairment is an example of a contributing factor. Another example might be the presence of a neurological component that affects processing, ultimately altering the way a sound is heard as well as orally reproduced. Phonological disorders. Phonological disorders are when a child's articulation of a sound may be correct, but they may use these sounds incorrectly or out of order in the production of a word. Children with these disorders might leave out a specific phoneme or sound of a word despite having the ability to produce the specific sound. For example, they may have the ability to produce the T sound, but leave it off the word cat. They may be unable to follow speech pattern rules that their peers organically developed and display. Personal experiences. My personal experiences have exposed me to students that have coexisting disorders as well as those with singular impediments. I have had a student whose hearing impairment contributed to his phonological disorder. I've had students that are on the autism spectrum and neurological processing weaknesses contributed to their coexisting diagnoses. I've had several students that have Down syndrome and are affected by anatomical developmental issues that impede their ability to orally form sounds adequately. Determining the disorder's contributing factors is essential in order to establish interventions and strategies that will effectively address these impediments. These disorders can be very frustrating for children as they often interfere with their ability to make their wants, needs, and desires adequately known. I've had the opportunity to see the success of interventions through therapeutic services and embedded classroom strategies, which is why early diagnosis and intervention are key. I've also had the opportunity to witness maturity and organic development play a fundamental role in speech and language development gains made by children. Unfortunately, I've also observed cases where impediments and disabilities were so severe that these impediments garnered little or no improvement despite intervention. In these situations, AAC support are vital.